Welcome to Fort Grit Diamonds in the Rough, where we dive deep into vibrant stories of triumph in Fort Smith, in a city that demands grit. We celebrate the spirit of success against all odds. Join us as we uncover inspiring narratives, exploring the journey, the rough diamonds to gleaming success stories.
What's up, everybody? We are back for another episode on Fort Grit. I'm Miranda, along with my host, Lloyd.
Yes.
You can talk, speak.
Hey.
Hey. And we're here today with our special guest, Heath. What's up, Heath? Thank you so much for coming.
It's an honor.
I mean, look at this guy. I feel like he just stepped off the Vogue runway.
Yeah, this guy looking like he just came off a
very
yacht.
dapper, got the tattoos. Okay, we've changed this whole thing to a dating show. What do you like to do for fun? You like long walks on the beach?
I don't know.
You do. Come on now, you have a few of those lines.
I have the agenda.
If you were to, okay.
That's something a woman has to find out.
Okay, but let's say that you have a Tinder. What would be in your bio? Off the dome, what would be in your bio? Come on. Something
I
so
kind of like leaving a mystery though.
Oh,
Like just leave it empty and come find out.
Oh, okay, I see
Yeah.
that. Leave it empty and come find out.
But
Swipe
then
right.
they think I'm a catfish account, so then
Yeah,
it
so like what would be, mine would be like 29, and I'm not, but I would put I was 29. Like,
You
like
can lie about
to
your
run
age.
marathons. Likes to work out 24/7. Likes to go on long walks on the beach. But, so do you have a Tinder?
No.
Lies.
I've been trying Hinge.
Ah, okay, Hinge.
Hinge.
Okay.
But the dating's just.
So, as two single men, you've been single for a hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell people so badly how you and I met. I'm going to tell people how you and I met. Yeah, so we've known each other for years, okay? And I actually met him at the strip club in Tulsa. Was it in Tulsa? Yeah, at Night Trips.
At
I
Night
love strip
Trips,
clubs,
yep.
And I love strippers. And so happens you did too. And that's how we met.
So at that,
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Say it.
No, okay.
He was
yeah.
dating somebody who was employed there.
It's so long back though.
Yeah, it's fine. But
Yeah.
that's how we met. So, and so now, like, when I've talked to people, like, dating, wow, what a weird demographic to date in. I know, like,
It's way different
it's
now.
such a weird time, right? Because it's like, you either don't want any more kids, or you have kids that are younger, or they have grown kids and don't want any more, or you have grown kids and then they have small kids and you have to start all over. Like, my kids are grown, so it'd be like really weird for me to start all over with like a baby or even have a baby. Like, oh God, that scares me. But so I can imagine like what demographic that would be really tough. And most men like younger women.
No.
No,
Not necessarily for me.
I mean,
no. Do you like younger women?
I mean, like these days, you really can't tell the
I'm too
age.
old.
The age, it's hard to tell the age like these days because a person can look like they're like 20 but be like
That is so true.
like 35 or so.
Yeah.
I mean, you really can't tell.
Girls are so like mature looking these days. Like, I have a 17-year-old and thankfully she looks very her age. She does. But I do, like, I've seen some of her friends and I'm like, holy shit, she's 16 and looks like she's 21. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I can imagine. What is like your biggest setback with dating, the both of y'all? Like, I'm just curious if where's the disconnect for you? Where's the you can go first.
I'm gonna be very blunt then.
This is what we want. We want bluntness. I told you that.
The wave riders. So
Okay.
The what?
The wave riders, like,
yeah.
The wave riders.
trying to just ride the wave.
Yeah.
Free pass in life.
Yeah.
And it's not. I was raised like Southern, like deep Southern, where you provide for the family.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that, but when it's expected, it just something throws it off.
Different,
But
yeah.
I always tell everybody, like my bio, to answer your question, if I put something, it would be looking for a woman to match my stride, not make me break it.
Yeah.
Because women in my past have always just seemed to break my stride,
Yeah.
and then I hyper focus and like put my life aside, and so it's
Yeah.
just not productive. I want someone to push me, and so not necessarily be successful, but just be supported.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you would be willing to like do the whole traditional support your wife and stuff
Yeah.
if you saw her effort there in a like, she doesn't have to bring as much money to the table, but like, making sure that her duties as a woman is done so you can be more successful.
Exactly,
You know,
yeah,
like
just-
whether that's coming home to a clean house after a
Yeah.
long day and just like, hey, have dinner, let's talk about it, or you know, like you would be more apt to want to help, like support a woman like
yeah,
that.
I think well, they always say behind every successful man is a supportive
Yeah.
wife, and
Yeah.
until they do get divorced, but
Yeah, had a few of
Bezos
those.
and all the, and Musk and them, but it's just kind of key. I feel like that's always been the missing piece
Yeah.
for me, and
Yeah, and we're gonna
it's
get
just-
into that.
yeah,
We're gonna dive into when I talked to you on the phone. I felt like there's a lot that I feel like you wanted to say and get out there, but I feel like sometimes your brain, because I'm a lot like that too.
oh yeah,
I can't sort out what my brain wants to say, but like I know what I want to say, but it's like my brain's going 90 to nothing, and trying to say that, you know, is hard. And I feel like this is going to give you such a great platform, whether this is healing with yourself or healing for somebody else or even healing for us.
Yeah.
I hope that we give you that, Jay. So we're going to dive into a lot of really great stuff today, and I'm excited for you to be so transparent about it. And I know that there's a lot I feel like we can learn about you, but maybe others should learn about you too, that they haven't had a chance to sit down and have a conversation
Right.
like this,
Right.
right? So I'm ready to get into it.
Let's
Are you
get
ready to
into
get
it.
into
I'm
it? All
ready
right.
to get into it, yeah.
So let's start from the very beginning. Where are you from, Heath? Oh, we're going to take it. Cheers. He also
Cheers.
brought some really great,
Yeah, he brought some good, what is this again?
That's a whiskey scotch. I don't even know. It's allocated. That's all I know.
it's
So
not bad.
so today is his birthday today, guys.
Yes,
so
we got a cake. It wasn't confectionally yours.
No.
I dropped the ball on that, okay? I was busy yesterday, and I was like, fuck, I gotta get him a cake. And so we got you a cake today. We'll eat that later
cake.
and stuff. So,
So, like,
thank
how
you
old
for
are you?
spending
Yeah.
your birthday with us.
course.
I
Yeah.
know birthdays are a big deal, so we appreciate giving us a few hours. So let's take it from the beginning.
Yeah.
Where are you from? Heath?
So a small oil field town in southern Oklahoma called Lindsay.
Okay.
Population depends on the economy of the oil and gas.
Yeah.
Uh,
Was your family in oil and gas
yeah,
business?
yeah.
Okay.
So my father was, my grandpa, and I was the black sheep that my brother was as well.
Yeah.
I'm the black sheep that decided that there's more out there, and
Were you traditionally expected to take over the business in that capacity?
well, so we didn't own the business or anything. It was just
Right.
employed, but it just kind of is the the typical
What you do?
outcome when you graduate as,
Yeah.
as a man. You go to oil and gas. It's great money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real
and
good money.
You just never know what tomorrow brings, and if you don't budget,
Yeah. I remember the first like oil and gas, like when everyone's getting laid off and people are like posting, it's like, please, if you ever rehire me again, I will not spend my money on dumb shit ever again, I promise. Because they were getting like 4-wheelers and boats and all
Yeah,
these nice
it's-
cars.
yeah.
And I'm like, how do you, like, I'm such like a freak about that. Like I would never, I just would never trust that money is always going to be there. So I always like wondered how, but you got to think they're young people that go into these jobs making like all this money. So they're young. They're 18 straight. Yeah.
It's
give
a
me that
way.
money, shit.
It's a way of thinking.
Yeah.
you know?
And so they're just like blowing it, and then they finally get that reality. So what was the dynamic in your household? Were your parents together? Set that scene for
no,
us.
pretty interesting. So a handful of people know this about me. So I was actually adopted at a very young age by my stepfather,
Okay.
who is my dad.
Yeah.
That's it was just a temporary home to get to where I needed
Yeah,
to be.
yeah.
So when I refer to my father, it's Brooks,
Mm-hmm.
and my biological father just chose that reckless path of life with drugs, and my grandma actually told me after my dad passed and stuff that my biological father wasn't a bad guy. He just knew he couldn't take care of me.
Yeah.
So respect there.
Yeah.
So my father and my mom were together, and I won't go into like super great details, but the dynamics. My dad was on the road a lot, working oil and gas, and things were done, and decisions were made at a young age by my mother, and so house was getting foreclosed when it shouldn't have, and the divorce happened. So, and then that was the chaos of, I think it was like 7 or 8 young
Yeah.
age, and I have 2 younger siblings as well. They went through all this as well, but I lived with my mom in the Panhandle of Oklahoma for a couple months, and then chose to live with my dad, and then he's working, and at this time before the divorce happened, he actually had cancer, and so it was in remission during this. I think about the time this divorce was going down, and so I chose to live back with him and Lindsay, and then his cancer came back, and my siblings were not far behind me on that.
Were
And
his
so,
siblings, were your siblings his biological children?
Yeah,
Or were
yeah.
you the only one that was adopted?
We had the same mother, just different dads.
Okay. So you were the only one that she had with this.
Yeah.
Did you ever meet him growing up?
No, I don't even remember. The small town life.
Yeah.
So Lindsay's about the size of like Muldrow or Roland
Mm-hmm.
to compare it. I've always known where he lived, and
Wow.
and his name's Heath as well. But but I always kind of told myself that if he could ever just stay out of jail, then I'd go and introduce myself. But
This is like, so I see it like I'm getting the chills. Because my son's dad is an addict as well too, and he just got out of prison last week, and after being gone for like upwards of 5 years, and so my son has kind of like had this, like he knows his dad's gonna be out, but he doesn't really know him very well. And there was some conversation there, and my son actually was like, tell him to text me. And he did, and he said those words. He said, if you prove to me that it's going to be a while before I ever see you. You're going to have to show me that you're going to stay sober. You're going to have to show me you're going to stay out of jail. And, he's 14, and I was just like, holy crap. Like, I never knew that he felt that way. So hearing you say that, it's like crazy that I'm looking like an older version of my son. Like, and he's like, you're going to have to prove to me, and then maybe we can be friends at some point. So I resonate a lot with what you're saying, because I think as a little boy, even though you had this man there as your stepfather, who I just said before the show, my stepfather came into my life, and that's why it's kind of confusing with me and my sister, because we're the same age.
Yeah.
That man is my dad, and he chose me, and he chose to stick it out even after my parents got a divorce. And I lived with him too after their divorce, and we lost our house and we siblings? Shit, because we lost everything too. It was pretty gnarly. We did. We lost everything. We lost our house and cars and everything, and so I can resonate with that. But so I can't help but wonder: did you ever feel growing up that even though you had this man in your life, was there a part of you that felt like a little part of you was missing? Because this man that is your dad, like honestly, some curiosity, maybe.
No,
fantasy.
And I think I don't know exactly. I think I was adopted like 3, so really there was no memory.
Okay.
I had like a very minor detailed memory, just like foggy brain. But my dad is the only person, only man I've known.
Right. So it's like you can't miss what you never had, kind of thing.
Yeah, which I'm grateful for. Here's a crazy. So there was this kid in high school. His name was. I can't think of his name. Ren, I think. Ren. And dude was reckless. Like, got expelled because he tried to pull a knife on our principal and stuff.
Damn.
Whatever, cool. Well, craziest thing is I creeped my biological father's Facebook page a couple years after I graduated, and there was a post that had like 20-something comments. I looked at it, and this dude Ren was commenting, and my biological father was like, "Son, I want to see you."
No.
I'm like, holy shit.
Holy shit, are
That's
you serious?
my half brother.
Your half brother?
And then I looked at him like, he looks just like me. But he's like covered in tattoos in high school. Like he went to Texas, and rumor was he got shot in a gang-related incident. Then he showed back up.
Yeah.
And
that's crazy.
So I say that because that was very important to happen, and I'm glad God kind of shed that on me, because it showed me that your blood is not your true identity.
No.
And so, but your support system, your atmosphere you grow up in is the most vital part.
Absolutely.
So my father gave me that second chance at life, and I could have ended up like him. Ren.
I like that.
But it blew up. I needed to have that to happen.
Yeah.
I had zero. I never had any curiosity of ever. And part of me was like kind of wanting him to know who I was, just to say, look what I did without you.
Yeah.
But I've heard from other friends in high school who knew his friends, and that he'd come to my football games every now and then. And I'm like, cool, I don't care.
Wow.
My family's here.
Yeah. Because a lot of younger boys, like, they come up with this fantasy illusion.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it really resonated with my son about the whole dad disconnect until he started playing sports.
Yeah.
And, like, having, like, the dads out there and things of that. And then, like, dads with donuts. I think like school has that, you know.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
rough.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
You
sad.
know, and so like he's always got a grandparent there, or like my brother or whatever. And so I know that there was some point where like he would talk about going on like vacation with his dad when he was like 3, and like as if it happened just a week ago, you know. So I've always wondered, you know, sometimes you fantasize this illusion of that. So seeing that, you know, you have this man that now you've got this brother. Are there any other siblings, or was he present in that boy's life at all? Or
I have no idea.
Really?
It is a very
So far
distant.
removed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have no. I would assume not. I don't know.
yeah,
But-
because I know that would have to hurt. Like to see a parent not be there for you, but then watch him raise somebody else. Regardless of, you have to tell me that would bother you a little bit.
I think it would if I didn't have such good support.
Good support
you know?
system.
Yeah, because it makes you like not even want to risk even looking into it. If anything, I mean, it'd just be a waste of my time. I would.
And a disappointment.
Yeah, for sure, probably.
Did your parents ever like want to keep you from finding out who he is, or did they ever encourage you to like follow that through if you felt that?
I think it was. I mean, I just grew up knowing it.
Yeah.
And like you kind of mentioned a while ago, like it always meant more. My grandma told me this after my dad passed. My dad passed I was 12.
Wow.
He passed in 2005, and but he chose to be my dad, and that's, you know, people have kids by surprise all the time.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he chose to be my dad when he didn't have to be. So that means that's pretty powerful.
That's pretty powerful.
Wow.
So when she told me that, I just like that's. I mean, I was young when she told me that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it hit
It
home.
does. I'll never
So-
forget my stepdad. Well, who's my dad? I went through a lot of things when I was 16, and ended up I had a suicide attempt, and my biological dad was in the picture at the time, but I was always a black sheep and whatnot. And I will never forget when they admitted me to the hospital. I remember my biological dad looked at me, called me a loser, and walked out.
What?
And my stepdad fell on the ground to my feet, bawled, and prayed over me. And I knew right then that's a man that chose to love me. And I'm not even his biological daughter. You know, still to this day, like, I talk to him every day. We, you know, like, that's my dad. But for the fact that he chose to love me, even at my worst, even whenever he could have said, this ain't my kid, like, she's crazy. I got pregnant in high school, you know. He helped raise my daughter. Same thing with my son. So I totally like resonate with that, and I think that is powerful to know. And that's when it clicked for me that family is a choice. And I hate when people push that and they're like, well, that's your mother, you should talk to her. No, if a fucking person's toxic, they're toxic. And I don't care if I came out her vagina or not.
Right.
Okay, or my dad, it doesn't matter. So I love that. Thank God, because who knows what could have happened. So rolling it back, take us to when you said your dad passed away. Were you living with him at the time? Were you watching the decline with the cancer happen?
Yeah, and I'm very transparent on this when people do ask, because it's a testament, truly. But so my 2 younger siblings, Faith and Brandon, they're gonna hate me if they listen to some of the ages are wrong. They're 3 or 4 years difference in spacing. They're adults. So, but we were all living with my father. My grandma, my dad's mother, had moved in with us, and we grew up. When the divorce happened, my dad didn't have his credit was ruined and all that stuff. So we were struggling. But the coolest thing about just parents being parents and kids being kids is you don't even know you're poor till you grow up and like, oh wow, but we were kind of poor. Because the life you have, as long as it's optimistic, you're like,
you don't know
any different.
So we were provided for. We didn't starve. It was just not the upscale lifestyle, you know. So the cool part is that I respect and appreciate is that when my dad had to stop working, he was just getting too sick. We just fished all the time. Like we had like trot lines on the river. We'd go fishing at these private ponds and stuff, and on these leases and whatnot. And so we just spent a lot of time. It's like he knew before he knew, and I didn't have any idea. I thought my dad was just sick.
Yeah.
Even to the point where he was in a hospital bed in a drug-induced coma in our living room. I just thought he was sick.
What kind of cancer did he have?
I don't know. I don't know specifically. I know it was his pancreas, bladder.
That's brutal.
But he fought it for a while, and but he just, it's like he instilled probably 10 plus years of morals, values, and stuff into me, and my younger siblings, they were probably too young.
Yeah.
In a very short time, as if he knew. And
Yeah.
but I mean the atmosphere and just the day to day was. I enjoyed it. We lived out in the country, south of my hometown, and it was just the simple life, and no less was moving, so less was complicated.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
But my grandma moved in with us to help kind of overlook and whatnot.
Was your mom helpful in any of this, like
No.
knowing what you guys are going through?
Oh no. So and listen. So I'm gonna give details, but my mom and I have reconciled, which I never thought I would deny would ever being a possibility.
Yeah.
Because I realized that she was just young, and she had my oldest sister who I don't really know. When I think she was 15 years old, so she never got to even experience life.
Wow.
So when
your mom had you?
when my mom had my oldest
your
sister,
older sister. Okay.
who I don't really know her.
Yeah,
I know her, but I don't know her. But so my mom went from that having a kid.
So where was she? Wait a minute. So to set this picture, where was she when she was married to your dad?
So she was.
Was she in the house?
Yeah, stay-at-home mom.
Your sister.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ashley was, yes.
Yeah. So she was in the home, but you were just young. You didn't really.
Yeah, I don't. I mean,
Okay.
I have memories with her, but I just don't know. Who
I got
she
you.
is
Okay,
today,
I was like, where is she at through all this?
We're
okay.
Facebook friends, and
Wow.
it's just I just don't know her. Like
But whenever
my siblings.
they separated, you went to live with him, so y'all didn't really.
Yeah.
And that's not his kid. Is that your biological dad's
no,
daughter?
it's a
It's
different.
another guy.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
A lot of guys came up with. I know.
It's okay. No, I'm just trying to piece everything together so we can all follow along.
Yeah.
So your mom started at a young age,
Yeah,
kind of grew
yeah.
up real fast. Yeah.
And I get it. You go from that not even having a teenage years to being a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
There's a lot of room for you got to be disciplined, and so it happens.
yeah.
So I'm not excusing it, but I can see what went wrong there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you're more mature now. I mean,
Yeah.
And you're a parent.
Yeah, no kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and adding to that, that's why I'm glad this whole life thing happened to me, because it just makes you realize what you don't want for your child, and so it helps me. It's easier for me to shape who I want to be to my son.
Mm-hmm. I always say, like, if I was meant to be on this earth to go through the things that I went through, and I went through some shit, in order for my child to never have to make those decisions, then that was my purpose on this earth. And you start to see it because your kid's young.
Yes,
you
I'm
start
saying,
to,
yeah.
our daughters are older.
Uh-huh.
You start to see that happening, like when they're faced with the same decisions like we were, and they make the right decision, and you're like, I would have done this, and this differently because of the kid I was.
Yeah.
And then you're like, hell yeah. Like if I was meant to mess up my life and do all the things that I did so she can be the best version of herself ever, then that is why I'm here. So yes, absolutely. So take us after his passing.
Yeah.
What happens there?
So if he passes, this is where the drama gets started. So my mom, I think we got us kids got Social Security from my dad's passing. I don't know what things she was involved with that part of life, but she was pushing to get custody. And Oklahoma at that time was a heavy mother state.
Yeah, for sure.
And my grandma, after a long battle, like she won custody of us, which was a breath of fresh air for me because I was 12 at this time.
Your grandma did?
Yeah.
That's
You're from
unheard
Oklahoma,
of.
You get it, yeah.
Because usually, like, you go to the mothers, no question.
Why?
Like, it's not even, and grandparents usually don't have any custodial rights at all.
Yeah, so like, what happened with that? Like,
Yeah, so with my grandma winning custody, my mom was still awarded weekends. And so I was like, no, hell no, I'm not going.
Yeah.
My two younger siblings, because they were so young during the death, like that's their mom still.
Yeah.
I knew things that
they still idolize her. Yeah.
So they would go to her. I don't know where she lived actually. I think she was in Oklahoma, maybe Texas at the time. But they go to her house for the weekends, and come back, and then sometimes they'd come back with a letter and just saying Brandon wants to live with me, and it just
doing a lot of.
I don't know what's true, what's
Yeah.
not. But eventually, I mean, she kind of just stopped coming.
Yeah.
And then it traumatized the two younger siblings.
Yeah.
Which kind of bothered me a little bit, but
there was probably no, like, you being the older, and now that your dad is gone, did you kind of step into the role of being the man of the house? Like, even intentionally realizing, like, now you have to step up? Maybe you didn't sit there and say, it's
Yeah.
time for you to step up.
I don't.
But,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
don't think I. The cool part is, so my dad was the only son, and my grandparents were actually divorced well before my dad passed, but they kind of rekindled.
Oh.
So my grandpa, when my dad actually passed, he moved in as well.
Oh, okay.
And so for me, I clung to him.
Yeah.
And my grandpa was very closed off from Vietnam.
Yeah.
And I've been told that I've been told some stories he never told his own children and stuff. I clung to him because that's the closest thing to my father.
Yeah.
And I think once I pushed a little bit,
Yeah.
he kind of clung to me because I was.
The only yeah.
So he kind of was that. I really haven't thought about that much. I maybe subconsciously there was some stuff I know. Months after my dad passed, I was failing every grade, everything, and
Well, seeing your siblings hurt, did you feel like you weren't there to protect them? Like you knew what your mom was doing?
Yeah, so that.
And then it's like you're like, you protected yourself by
Yeah.
not going, but they didn't have that choice. So as you're watching this happen in real time, did a part of you feel kind of like you should have protected them or you wanted to protect them from that chaos? and
Frustration
kinda?
for sure, because
Yeah.
whenever I tell my brother like just the truth behind things.
Yeah.
And they were just so young, they just didn't know.
And that's still their mother. Like
100%. And I.
Now, do they see it now as adults?
I think my sister does.
You
yeah.
know, there is a thing as like parent alienation. There is
Yeah.
a thing as poison. Like I have seen some nefarious
Yeah.
stuff happen. Even, I mean, I don't know about your mom, but like even with my son and his dad, I've never spoken anything but the truth.
Sure.
He's a great man. He's just a bad addict
Sure.
who could not take care of you.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
really all that needs to be said. I
That's
don't
it.
need to, you're a piece of shit, daddy. You know, I don't
Yeah,
need to
like-
be doing the most like that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the only person that my son's going to hate is me. Because I'm the closest thing to him, you know. So as you're going through this, you know, you just lost your dad. You're living, you're seeing the turmoil with your mom. At what point did you decide that, you know, you said that you weren't making good grades. Why do you think that was?
I just felt lost because I think, you know, going back to my dad was the man on the pedestal to me.
Yeah.
And so I just lost it. And
Did
so
you have a chance to grieve? And did you have anybody there for you during that grieving? Because obviously your mom's not going to be there to help you.
yeah.
I mean, even if they weren't together, you would think, you know, a mother
Yeah,
would
like
still.
it must have been hard because your dad like was your rock. you
Yeah.
know, and then he's gone, and then you said his mom is not
Yeah.
there, so shit.
Yes.
So who was there for
So
you?
that kind of puts into perspective as well. So my dad was the one I was learning from,
Yeah.
and then it's gone. So my and to answer, kind of go back to your question of do you feel like I had to stand up and be the man of the house? I do recall a moment like my grandma was grieving hard. That's her only son.
Yeah, God.
And
we're not supposed to lose our children before us, my God.
No. And so I never really grieved. So my dad never. I'll go back a little bit. I miss my dad obviously. It was a couple months after he passed.
Yeah.
And I grabbed his Bible because my dad's faith got really strong when he got sick, and even stronger when like right before he got into this drug-induced coma. And so that was an example for me. So I just wanted to hold his Bible, and he never really marked in his Bible. And I opened the ribbon up, and it was the verse that was highlighted was, "I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, and I have kept the faith. And now there's a store for me the crown of righteousness, which the righteous judge will reward me on that day. But not only to me, but to all who have longed for his appearing." And so that then I heard he used to call us, me and my brother, Mushmelon, because we played video games. So then I heard in the back of my head like, "What are you doing, Mushmelon?" And so, which is just, I don't know. So that just had to turn everything around. So my grandma was struggling. Like I remember one weekend, whenever my siblings were at their mother, she had a massive panic attack at the kitchen table when she was reading, smoking her cigarette and drinking her coffee and waiting for the paper. And I didn't know what a panic attack was. I think it was 12, 13, whatever, how old I was. And I thought she was having a heart attack, dying. Like she was uncontrollable hand movement and stuff. And so I do find, and I never really thought that much into it until you asked that question. I started digging a little bit farther in my dome. But
I'm like sitting here every
Yeah.
time I ask a question, like I can just see
Yeah,
like the wheels turn. I'm like, well, it's probably things you may have not have thought about, and
Yeah,
it's probably emotional for you too.
I'm reflecting back on things that happened in a different
Yeah.
perspective, so it's actually kind of cool for me to connect
Yeah,
things too.
yeah.
Because this is like therapy. So
You're right, I'll bill you later.
hey.
The HMO, I'll bill you later.
yeah, so
We take Blue Cross Blue Shield and alcohol. Thank you.
I do think that actually happened now. Now that you asked that question,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just naturally being the man of the house, and I didn't really I didn't really physically grieve, and at that time, whenever I read that verse, I knew I had to be an example for my siblings, and so I had to be strong. Well, I'm dealing with it now. I've been going to therapy for a couple of years now. I haven't cried since my dad passed.
Today's episode wouldn't be possible without one of our amazing sponsors, Franklin for Life, a trucking company steering you towards success. You want to get a hold of them? No problem. 479-384-1586. Thank you, Franklin for Life.
And well, I cried once with some depression like 6-7 years ago. Just a reckless. That was more stemmed to my dad though too.
Yeah.
Not having anyone there, but I started shoving my emotions down and just ignoring it and being. Because physically being an example to my siblings to show them that no matter how dark and shady your past is, you can have a bright future.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
so,
also think men, and you guys can speak. Sorry, I hit the microphone again. I'm gonna get in trouble for that later. I do. I'm a hand talker, and I can't.
I love it. I love it.
All the time get made fun of because I just get into it. But I'm passionate. And you correct me because you two are male, so you know. I just feel like you guys were never given the option to show emotion. You know, I think we're changing that now with, our kids and stuff of letting men show their emotion. But I just remember growing up and thinking men shouldn't cry. That shows a sign of weakness. You're supposed to be tough.
Yeah.
And I think that would you agree with that?
I mean, like back then, yes. I don't know if your dad was like that way, but my brothers and dad were like, man, don't cry, and
Yeah,
and,
well, I'll give you something to cry about.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been told that.
But like growing up, because just because your parents teach you something doesn't mean it's correct.
Right.
To me,
good.
Well, you got to think their trauma
right.
that they haven't worked through. Now
That's
they're putting
key.
that on you because
Exactly.
that's how they're taught
Right.
to deal with their trauma. Now you've got
it's compound.
it's a
trauma.
compound, yeah. It's a
So you grow
snowball
up,
effect.
you get older, you grow up, and then you go out and you experience this stuff on your own, with your own I experienced this, and then you go by how you feel on it, and then that's how you learn about it. You know what I'm saying? That's because now the things I'm 43 years old. So I have a whole different mindset than how I was when I was 18, 20, 26, etc. And I think differently, I'm changed.
Do you feel like showing emotion is weakness?
No, I don't. I feel like because we're all human. I mean, emotion is supposed to be there.
I think it's
I cry. I cry sometimes. Shit, I ain't gonna lie.
Fantastic to be with somebody who cried.
100%.
Like to show me that that's passion's there. Yeah.
Does that mean I'm weak? Hell no. To me, when a man cries, shit, don't fuck with that guy.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Don't fuck with that dude, man.
So, you see me crying, you better stay arm's length away because I'm probably swinging
You know what
off
I'm
at some
saying?
point.
It takes emotion. It's you need that. You cannot block it.
Because it does come out in different
it will
ways.
come out.
And that does affect relationships, which we'll get into that.
It does.
So you're suppressing your emotions. Take us on that journey of trying to figure out, getting through high school, dealing with kind of growing up, being a man. You've got your grandpa to kind of look up to. But you're essentially, what I'm understanding from your story a little bit is you were almost kind of inclusive. You were kind of alone.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I was surrounded by, my aunts and uncles on my dad's side were there. Really one aunt from my mom's side. But the support was there, but just at no point did I always felt like I was alone. I kind of put myself in that position, I believe. But I think it was more like putting a bubble over myself and just saying, this is enough. I'm gonna do my own thing, my own bubble, to protect myself. There's a lot of trauma to deal with, which I never dealt with
Yeah.
because I shoved it down.
After losing him, did you fear of losing other people? Did this like anxiety come over of like who's next?
Not at that point. That has happened later on in my young adulthood. And I've discovered within the past several months in therapy that I have abandonment trauma. My biological father didn't want me. My mom didn't really want me. My dad passed, and my grandparents passed 7 years after my dad did. And so everyone we either left or was taken. And so it.
You know, they say in EMDR, I've done EMDR before, and they were like, even if you subconsciously go back and think about things that have happened in your past, like, i.e. for you, like your biological dad not being around, even though you sit there and say, well, it didn't really bother me, like you don't have emotion towards that, they say that it comes out in other ways. So like how you respond in relationships. Yeah. Though you may not realize the disconnect there, they say it's because of that trauma you dealt with as a kid that it may not come out as an emotion, it may come out as a reaction. And that really clicked for me. I was like, oh my God. Because I look back at things that I've been through, like trauma and abuse and stuff as a kid, and seeing that. And I'm like, I don't get teary-eyed talking about it. Like, really, I don't think about it. My day-to-day doesn't change. Yeah. Until it comes into something in a relationship or an argument. And then my whole, like, point of view is skewed because of what I saw. And I didn't connect the two, you know, that's kind of how it goes. Makes sense. So you're right. I mean, even though subconsciously every day you're not getting up thinking, my dad didn't want me. Yeah. It does affect you. It does come through in different ways. So take us through that. Take us.
So once I had started shoving my emotions down, and I, to be in my perspective as a 12, 13-year-old, for me to be an example for my siblings, I needed to do something different than what's done in this town. And so I focused on school and sports, whatever could get me out of that town, which was college. But I never struggled throughout school with relationships. I'm a nerd. No one would ever do that, but I'm a nerd. But I got along with, I dress nice. I got along with the preps. I got along with the rednecks because I've been noodling. I grew up in the sticks. Yeah. But again, no one would expect. And then I got along with the athletes, jocks, we want to call them preps. So I got along with everybody, and that stemmed directly to my father. Quick example. We were driving home. I don't know what we're doing. Headed to the countryside convenience store that you always stop at to get pop candy. Maybe a deli sandwich. But and my dad always he'd wave at everybody when they drive across. And I was out because it's a small town. Everyone knows everybody. I was like, do you know everybody you wave at? He goes, no. I said, well, why do you wave at them? He said, you just never know if that's going to change their whole day. I love that. Like just showing love to people. He always like, in the moment I had no idea, but I'm grateful I'm able to have that memory to reflect back on these small, like meaningless things at the time. They were massive examples he was trying to like implement into me. And so he said, if you just show a little bit of love to everybody, smile at somebody random, like you could change, you could save their life. They could be going home to do something. Yeah. And I like that. And he's having these deep conversations. I'm telling you, he knew. It's like he knew even before he was like real sick.
He knew. Yeah.
So he's being direct with me as I'm a young kid, but it's like he knew that it may not do anything to me right now, but 10 years later.
Isn't that crazy when your parents tell you that? It's so true.
That's crazy.
There's things my dad, which is my stepdad, and I look back on and like. I remember him saying, what is it? 10% of life is what happens to you. 90% is how you react. And that always stuck with me. And then, when it comes to giving to the homeless, like he's like, what they do with that money is not between you and God. It's between them and God. And don't ever block somebody's blessing. And like, he just would throw these little comments out there, and I remember just like listening until it like got older. And then I'm like, I hear those things in the back of my head. And I'm like, man, you're just really trying to instill some stuff in us, and I'm grateful for that. Yeah. And I appreciate that because I didn't have that. I didn't have anybody in trying to instill values into me, and as a man who's not my biological father, he's choosing to make sure that I still live the same path as his kids, Yeah. So shout out to Dad. He sounds like a really great guy.
He does,
what is
man.
his sign? What's his what? What's his sign? What is he?
Oh, I don't even
know.
What
are you?
I'm a Pisces.
Oh shit.
Everyone says that.
I'm a Scorpio.
Scorpio.
I'm
So Scorpio, Pisces, Gemini.
Yeah.
I sound like I don't really look into them. Now, the few horoscopes I've read make my brain hurt.
Yeah, you're like,
I'm
what is this?
What is going on?
So they always say, when you're a kid, like you will not realize now, but when you're older, you'll think of me. God, I hate to admit this on here, but shit, they're so right. Like, damn it, it's so true.
You're right, and you're right.
Yeah. So take us to, you graduate high school. When did you decide that, business and this particular lifestyle is the journey you wanted to go down? Take us through leaving and what that looks like for you.
So growing up in a small town, the one thing you think of, because everyone goes, yeah. So I'm thinking you got to be a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer, a teacher. It's really about all you. They don't really educate you on what all's out there.
Yeah.
So I went to SWASU in Weatherford, Oklahoma for nursing, and I didn't really like that. I was there for a year and a half, I think. I mean, I got that, like, drinking alcohol, all that dumb college stuff out the way. I mean, I went way out in the BFE because it was 2.5 hours from my hometown. And I love my hometown. It's where I came from. It's made who I am. But it's just one of those towns sometimes where if you don't get far enough away, it can just suck you back in.
Yeah.
And ironically now I'm starting to branch my business down there. To bring something to it.
They always say you go back home.
Yeah. Not that I want to.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. So went to college for a couple of years, partied. I wasn't failing, but it just wasn't for me. And I just felt like, growing up with all this trauma and chaos of a life that you shouldn't live as a kid, I've learned more just through experience than I had from school. And so I just chose to drop out a year and a half in, handful of credits shy of associates, and moved to OKC. And
which that's a big city compared to, right? Yeah. OKC is a big thing. What made you move there?
So I had this girlfriend there, which I was at one point engaged to.
So let's go into this relationship because we're going to get into others. But so going into your relationship, dealing with the trauma that you have, what kind of person were you going into that? Looking back, I mean, we're talking about years ago, right? So if you were to look back at yourself and looking at the Heath that was in that relationship.
Yeah, this is good timing because again, within the past 3-4 months, I've learned a lot more. We're focusing more on like my relationships and how my past has like caused disruption there. So I have abandonment issues and mommy issues. So I my therapist.
He says that so cute too. Like, I have mommy issues, and then like that's his like lashes. And it's like, that was so traumatic, but so fucking cute. Okay, go on. It's like, okay, carry on now. He just says that such a bubbly. Like, I'm a psychopath.
It's all about your tongue. Right?
Yeah, it is. Like Ted Bundy could have not have delivered.
There we go. We're not gonna label me right now.
Oh no, we're not. Sociopath, you're good. You've marked off like 3 or 4, but you're not bedwetting or lighting animals on fire. You're good. You're good. Mommy issues check. Arsonist check. Okay, you're good.
But I have all these weird sayings like, but you can't grow if you don't know. So
you're right.
Until someone says you check that box off, you don't even know it. But once you know it, now you can identify it and then fix it.
Absolutely.
So I've learned a lot in the past couple months about repeat issues in relationships. That it takes 2 to tango, yes, but I brought a lot of disruption that I didn't think I did anything wrong.
Right.
It's just who I was, but
right.
It's from unchallenged traumas. And so I tend to hyper-focus very, very, again, I think I mentioned it earlier, I just put everything in my life aside and make them happy. I want this to work because I don't want anyone to leave. I don't want anyone to choose to leave. I don't want anyone to, but then it gets to a point, and this is very repetitive in relationships, and it's regret. Yeah, I've caused pain to women, but whereas if a lot of these women I've met today when I've been healed, it would be a way different story.
Right,
but where at some point, it's almost like I gave so much effort,
Mm-hmm.
and no hate at all to any woman on the other side of this. What effort do they have to give? They're getting everything.
Right,
100%.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Time, effort, stay
Yeah.
home, don't worry about it. And then
Yeah.
I get it. It is a choice to make, but then I feel like, where's my effort at?
Right,
And
right.
so I set myself up for failure almost.
Yeah, you kind of laid it all out there and
It's
expected nothing.
self-sabotaging.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
And but I'm glad I know that now. If you told me that 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I'd be in denial.
Yeah.
You got to figure out
Well,
yourself.
your love language is different, you know,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think, you know, I'm a mother of a son, you know, and my job, I feel like, is to show my son how he is supposed to be treated from a woman,
Yeah.
but also
Right.
how to treat a woman. And I think that's a mother's role. I can't teach him to be a man because I'm not one. I can, you know, teach him to be a man from a woman's perspective of things, of like, you know, I tell him all the time, you're going to break somebody's heart. You are. You're going to break a woman's heart. But it's how you break her heart is what's important.
True.
Because it doesn't matter. You're going to say something that they're not going to like. You're going to break up with somebody. But it's how you do those things that impacts their life.
I like it.
And it's my job to also show him that a man deserves to be treated a certain way from a woman. And he's supposed to treat. So you didn't have that growing up, right? I mean,
Right.
you had a man directing you. But there's also things that I feel like fathers can't do. And
Yeah,
that is also
right.
teach them
She's
that
right.
emotional
She's
side,
right.
you know?
Yeah.
And so you didn't have that, you know, in your defense. You know, I'm not
Sure.
making up for things, but when you don't have a mom giving you that side where you're like holding them and saying, listen, you know, she's doing this, but you really need to understand that this, and this, you know, needs to take place because you're going into your first relationship blind. You don't know
Yeah.
what to do. You know, I've got teenagers.
Yeah.
I tell them all the time,
Yeah.
like, this is what you need to be doing. This is how we go through this. You didn't have that, Heath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this didn't add to her father was super cool and close and very supportive out the gate, and so it felt like that was filling this void
Yeah.
of it's a dad role.
Yeah, yeah.
And which I mean him and I and her and I are still, you know, Facebook still
Yeah,
good
for sure.
friends. It's everything happens for a reason, but
Yeah.
True.
I never would have known that in that moment. We were engaged, and then I did what I normally do, where I just kind of just pull away, and because it didn't feel fair, which I set myself up for. And then I ventured into, what am I going to do with life?
Yeah, yeah.
I have no college degree. Don't know what I'm going to do. And I wasn't antisocial in high school. I got along with everybody, all the cliques. And like was class president many years, didn't
wow.
even campaign. Like I just love people.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to go back to my dad waving at people, I learned that, and so I got along with everybody, and I just love people. Everyone's got a story. I've got lessons to learn from somebody, and I just love relationship. And so,
I love that. I'm just laughing because
don't laugh at me.
no, the other day I was passing the dollar store and I was like, yeah, that's Betty. Her husband died 2 months ago and she moved in with her daughter-in-law. And he looked at me and he was like, how the hell do you know? I'm like, I just stopped and talked to her at the dollar store. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I know I talk to everybody. I can hold the door open and have a 20-minute conversation. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of assholes in this world and I don't really need to be one. And I like how your dad, like,
I love it.
I always talk to people. I always, you know, you look so nice today. Like, I always try to give a compliment to somebody because you're right. Because you just never know. And looking the way that you do and, you know, like being put together. And I mean, you seemingly look like you've got, you know, great life and stuff. To have somebody talk to somebody that may not have what you have really shows like, whoa, like, you know, there are good people out there. And I think that's really important.
When I growing up, I didn't get if someone had approached me who just seemed like they had their life together, I would crap my pants. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
wouldn't-
yeah.
But so it is cool. But I also don't. I like to look nice and dress nice and have nice things, but I also don't like it from times because I feel like people can't approach me. I'm not that stuck up asshole that that typically is behind.
Yeah,
or
isn't it crazy how
stereotype,
people can look at you and feel that way?
It's
I
crazy.
get it a lot.
Because my motto is like, you look good, you feel good.
Yeah.
And that's why I mean I'm not wearing a suit, but
Well,
I
you're
like
always on point.
I like to look
Yeah.
nice because
Yeah.
I feel good about myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
But
it's
it
a
don't-
mental health. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mental thing. It don't mean like I'm an asshole. You can come talk to me. I'll talk to anybody
Yep.
because you get back what you put into the universe. You feel me?
Absolutely, yeah. And I always feel like this: God can bless you, but He can take it away.
He sure can.
You know,
he can
I
take it
mean,
away
He
real
can.
quick.
I trust and believe
So
that.
I'm very humble. I mean, yeah, like I might have nice things, man, but I don't. That's not me. I
Right.
don't base those nice things on who Lloyd is.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I came from nothing. I mean, I'm struggling too still. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? We all struggling out here.
If
Yeah.
I ain't
So-
struggling mentally, I'm struggling physically.
You know what I'm
Shit.
saying? Like everybody, we all struggling and shit.
They're probably like, "Why isn't the brace? The brace is in
I'm
the
trying
hallway."
to make it.
Well, I think we all are,
We're
and we
trying to
all
make
come
it.
from a thing. But leaving from a small town like that, and getting out of this relationship because you had your mind, because you're almost kind of following in that path that you probably didn't realize.
Yeah.
Getting out of high school, getting married at a young age,
Yeah.
starting your career. So you almost subconsciously went down that path,
In your
even though you
relationship.
without
Yeah.
realizing that's what you were doing.
Yeah.
So you get out of that relationship. What am I doing? I mean, I'm a high school dropout. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I did that all with like a kid on my hip, trying to figure it out. What made you get into what you're into? Did you have
Yeah.
many jobs before that? Or
No, so I did a door-to-door sales job for AT&T, selling their cable, internet, and phone.
AT&T.
Oh my God, I could see you
Yeah.
so doing that. I bet you could sell like ice to a freaking
You can
Eskimo.
see it now, but if you knew me back then, I was a turtle in a shell. Because
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
focused on school to get out of my hometown,
Yeah.
make myself something. So when I started this job, I would make myself, I tell everybody this because it's a great testament to being social as a choice. I'd make myself talk to one person in every aisle I went down in a grocery store or Walmart. And now I can't shut up.
Yeah.
So I made myself social because you gotta have carry a conversation
You do.
to lower the guard at a door. If someone's knocking on your door randomly, they gotta like you in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And so I did pretty well there. It was a Ponzi scheme, a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So I did it. I ran it. Whatever. During this, I met a few guys because I became so social and networking and whatnot that I started to. I got a lot of followers. I ran this Twitter page in Oklahoma called Oklahoma Cuties, and so what we did was people would send in selfies, and we just
Wait a minute, you're Oklahoma Cuties?
Yeah, that was me. Yeah,
That was you?
yeah. So
I've seen that. You're right. They're like random selfies. These
It was-
like hot
yeah.
girls, and they like. I think Instagram has something like that
it was,
too.
It was well, it's
Like
been-
hot or not or some shit like that?
No,
No,
this
no.
is just like
This
a
is just
no.
Oklahoma. Yeah.
I low key
Okay.
was like, well, I gotta do to send in my picture to be honest. I'm too old, bitch.
Most people would send in their own picture. It's not, yeah, but we had like 120,000 followers
Yeah.
in no time,
Yeah.
and
Damn.
It was amazing.
yeah, it was pretty cool. So and then we waited several months before we released who the founders were, and so it was me. And two of my light skinned buddies, and so I'm the white boy, and and so I stuck out a bit. So
You don't fucking say.
and I say that because they attracted like all the culture,
Right,
and then-
right.
and I attracted the whites. So
Yeah. So
But-
so how did this begin?
yeah, so
What started this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I grew a pretty good social media following myself, and then I got noticed by this fella, Rashawn, and he had a bit of the concept, and we just had one of those round tables where me, Ozil, and Rashawn, we got together and was like, let's do this, blah blah, and at the end of the night we had this idea, and then the idea to monetize and all that, but we were about to do a weekly radio show, like
Yeah.
spotlight, cutie of the week.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
How do you monetize off that?
So I was gonna do. This is where I kind of started creating my own entrepreneur mindset.
yeah.
We had this following, and primarily based in Oklahoma City Metro.
All organic following?
Yeah.
All organic?
Yeah. So I was gonna hit up businesses and like spotlight them for so much a week, a month, a post,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
it may be. We're gonna do a clothing line and donate to charity. The radio show sponsorships and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then life just kind of all got in the way, and we weren't really gonna
Good old life.
disagreements and whatnot. So we kind of closed it down. But during all that,
And that was because I was never featured on that page. Then we're here to really tell you guys
That's
the
what it
truth,
was.
okay? Is the fact that I was never featured, and that's
you-
why it all went to hell.
You didn't have my girl on there, bro.
but look at us now. Okay, you're on the show now.
Oh, I got you on my show. But you see how that works, okay?
Yeah,
You didn't
yeah.
put me on, but I'm gonna put
Yeah.
you on, okay?
But when the founders were released and the images made known, then I got a lot of followers on my Twitter, and I'd post and I'll pause that actual thought for a second. So my dad gave me this like good 2-hour talk when I was, this is probably 6 months before he passed. He's sitting on the bed and I'm standing up, he's holding my hand, and I don't know what this is about, and there's a lot of content with that conversation that I remember details of, but I've shared one thing to the world about that because it shaped me who I am today. He said, son, no matter what you face in life, always strive to find the positive in every negative situation you come across. And that has changed. That's who I am. Because there is, example, my dad passing. Yeah, it sucks. But my optimism in that is I don't think I would have the drive I have today if I had a dad to fall back on. So there's always something you can find in everything. And that goes back to another thing I said. If you could find something out of everything, it's not for nothing. I mean, so ADD. Where are we going?
You're saying, like there's always something like a positive from a negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're talking about the creation of the page and the following out
Yeah.
and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So I was followers. So here we go. Back on track.
Welcome.
So the
Story of my life over here.
yeah, it's bad. You got to channel it right. But so I would post a lot of like positive and optimistic quotes, insights, things my perspectives on the world. I'd go through my feed and see a struggle someone's going through, retweet it and put my perspective.
Oh, cool.
And so I grew 50,000 followers myself, and then I met my business mentor, Todd Graves. He owns a golf academy, kind of a unique swing, but all across the world. And we were I think we were at BJ's on I-40 in OKC, and we walked into there, and me, Todd, and their marketing director Chase we sat down, and at this point, this is about 6 months in. I'm used to this, but sat down, and then the waitress comes up and says, "Are you Heath?" I was like, "Yeah." She goes, and I said, "Why?" She goes, "Well, the hostess, she follows you, and she's scared to come over and say hi." I said, "Tell her to come say hi." I'm used to everywhere I went in OKC.
People knew, yeah.
Take a picture, tweeted me. It felt cool for about 2-3 months, and then it felt really weird, and I got paranoia.
Yeah.
So of course they're like, "What was that about?" I'm like, "Here's the deal," and they said, "Well, run on social media. You'll be an intern. We'll pay you." And so I got to shadow Chase, who was a Princeton graduate, and learned a lot from him on social media. So all this fell into Chase was like, "Dude, you can make money doing this. Just running social media pages, growing the organic audience, and then monetizing on it." So I started my social media marketing agency. Had several clients. Ran that for a while. It got super competitive. Kind of just sold that off, and relationships have kind of led me to move.
Yeah.
Trauma. So I met a woman, and she lived in Tahlequah, so I started looking at jobs up there, and ended up in medical sales without a degree, making junk, less than what my bills were every month.
Right.
But I was up for the challenge. They were like, "You need to talk to doctors." I was like, "I can do that."
Yeah.
And
do you feel like in the business industry now, is it not about what you know, it's about who you know a lot of the times?
that has been the root, and,
Yeah.
and that's why I love talking to people, because I probably know someone you know. And,
Yeah.
And when
relationships.
So and I mean, just last week I meet people everywhere I go, and I have this discernment where I can see potential in people that they might not even see, maybe years away from seeing. So I want to help them succeed. And this goes back to what Todd, my mentor, had told me. He said, in order to become successful, you got to help others become successful. That's what he's always believed. And I kind of implemented that myself to the point that I did marketing for a hip hop group in at UCO in Edmond.
I totally see like record label manager here.
Yeah.
Like I could totally.
You feel me?
See, yeah. Like, that's how I
do
feel
too.
seeing
I do
you,
too.
like,
I see
yeah.
that.
Yeah, so I've helped people gain success or at least get on the path of success. At one point, I'm like, when's my chance?
Yeah.
So I'm in medical sales and home health in Wagner, Oklahoma. Didn't even know where that town was at. Moved up there and did that for a while. Kind of got my feet into the medical sales. And that's where I kind of pushed aside the entrepreneur side of myself. But then again, I still had it because I had my own territory, my own
Yeah,
numbers,
that's what
my
I
own
said. You're
growth.
kind of on your own.
Quickly outgrew that position. I bounced around a little bit. But throughout all this timeline, I'm still networking people, meeting people, and that's where I met my old business partner James, and who'd been doing roofing for a while for other companies. He got the short end of the stick, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna start a company, but I need your help." Because at this point, I had a supplement store in Broken Arrow as well, and I was like, "Cool, I can do it, but I don't know anything about roofs."
Yeah.
Nor am I going to quit medical sales until we do something.
Yeah.
And, that kind of was my intro into the construction side. But I held on to the medical sales, bounced around in different companies as they were all not fitting my criteria. And then I met my ex-wife, who lived here in Fort Smith. And that's why we're sitting here. So I came to Fort Smith a lot, to Mercy and Baptist with medical field. And we met online. And I didn't really plan on moving from Tulsa, but and then it pieced me for a while. Didn't want to stay here, but
I was about to say, I don't see this being home for you.
I had that mentality, but as of a mere few months ago, I've just established that this is. I mean,
Home is where your son is.
Well, sure, yeah.
You know?
I mean, I love this town for many reasons now. I like it because I've been and I've spent a lot of time. I've traveled a lot.
Yeah, it is a good place to raise your kids.
I left out a piece of when I was in my digital marketing. I did some film production and with my buddy Tyler, and so we traveled all over the U.S. with the film festivals and stuff. So I got to experience big cities, smaller cities, and so I lived in OKC, Tulsa, Broken Arrow, all that good stuff. But this town is like the biggest, smallest town you'll ever come across. There's so much going on. It's like hidden potential.
Yeah.
It's happening, but you just don't see it. There's money here that you don't even see.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's big enough to where you have everything you need out your door within 5-10 minutes, but it's small enough where you run across people you know. And I love that because it's the best of both worlds. It's the big city I've been living in, I chased. It's also the small town I grew up in, which I miss.
Yeah.
So
that's a cool perspective.
Yeah.
That's a good perspective.
And there's so much going on. This town's never going to be left behind.
Right.
It may be behind, but it's not going to get left behind.
Right.
So I moved out here and kind of focused more on the roofing side of things. Here's where these suits and medical field actually played off and helped me out in the construction side. So I opened this branch in Fort Smith, and me and James at this point had just split the two branches up and made it a competition. No tension driven at all. I just had, I wanted to use technology and marketing, and he's just like old school, which works great for him.
Yeah.
So I'm going to these doctor's offices and the hospitals and in suits, and but I have an appointment 30 minutes afterwards. So I'm going and doing a roof inspection with a suit on.
Yeah.
And I take my jacket off, and so I've been labeled the best dressed roofer in town, which I heard it. I'm like, I'm gonna brand that. Like, I'm gonna stand behind it because it made you stand out. And so, and in business, you're all doing the same thing, and but you got to find something that makes you different, unique, whether it be your approach, the way you do it, or just your brand, your image.
I like that.
And so I ran with it. I mean, I ruined a lot of suits.
Yeah, I was supposed to say,
and it was hot. I'm sweating. I had to go change in between the days, but it worked for me. In the perspective of being able to stand out in a town I wasn't even familiar with. Because my initial approach to this town was, oh, crap, if you ain't from here, being from out of town, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But it goes back to many different things in my life. My dad, loving people, walking in love. People your spirit just senses that.
Yeah.
And if I'm there to take care of somebody, and then they're like, who's this guy in a suit? Like, showing up my door. Some days I was wearing black suits. They thought I was the IRS.
Right,
so,
yeah.
But it's kind of led me to where I'm at here.
Yeah. So was this around the time have you had your son yet?
So he was born in 2020.
Okay. Oh wow, right during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So take us on that journey as fatherhood. Tell us what that felt like.
Yeah,
As far as being someone who lost their dad. Were you nervous at all being a father? Was this something you had always dreamt about?
I always feared it because I didn't know. I remember driving to church. We lived about 20 minutes from our small town, like 20 people church in Lindsay. And my grandma and I were driving with my brother and sister. Were at my mom's and there for the visitation. And this song came on. It's called like Brad Paisley sings it with I think Dolly Parton, like When I Get Where I'm Going.
Oh yeah.
Sad
When
song.
I get where I
Says that song. So we're listening to it, and it always made us think of my dad. So I just we started talking about how he loved. She did talking about how he loved me, and I'm like, what if I'm 12? What if I don't love? I'm scared I won't love my kid like my dad loved me. And I look back, I'm like, okay, that was actually a sensible thought. I mean,
that absolutely was a sensible thought. Yeah,
but now
yeah.
I'm like, she said, just trust me, you will.
Yeah.
And even up until like even in the pregnancy, like that thought was still in the back of my head. Like I'm scared, like I won't that because I have that example of love. Like, can I meet that?
Right.
Yeah.
But also too, in men's defenses, all right, as women, we get pregnant, we go through the process internally for 9 months. We have 9 months. Our bodies are reminding us every day we're carrying this child. But like, if I was a dude and somebody was like, here's your new baby, love it. I don't know that I could do that. It's like the idea of it's there, right? And you're supposed to love your kid, but your connection is, to me, I think the most organic connection because essentially your life doesn't change day to day. And next thing you know, you have this kid that looks just like you and you're just supposed to love it. My son, he's 14. He says, I'm not going to love my kid unless they play sports. And I think he wholeheartedly believes that,
No,
but I mean, that is hard to bond,
Yeah.
and you already have such an attachment trauma,
Yeah.
so that's probably driving into what you're feeling. So you have your son, you take a look at him. What are you feeling that moment? You're looking at him.
Let's back up a little bit more.
Okay, we're back in more.
So, I met my ex-wife, and we both. She was the first woman that I felt like could understand me because her grandparents raised her, and so anyways, so we had that connection there. So Cypress, okay, actually we didn't know his gender until he was born.
Oh, okay.
So we chose two names. So we were having a home birth, which was a little plot twist from, when she approached me, I'm like, whoa, what?
Yeah, that's a lot, yeah.
But I learned a lot about it. I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. There was complications there, so we ended up having to have an emergency C-section.
Ugh.
She was a trooper, for sure.
Yeah, like what do you like? I think
damn.
you get like a kiddie pool and throw it in a living room with some water. Shit's crazy, man. Like
Yeah.
that's a whole level of badassery that I just don't have.
No
So
epidural.
just watching Netflix and shoving a kid out, like it's crazy.
Yeah, so
Like serious.
when we had the C-section, Cypress was actually pulled out, not breathing.
Oh, shit.
And then I guess during the trauma he had boobed, so she was high risk of going septic.
Oh
and
yeah,
then
for sure.
he wasn't breathing. I'm watching a young new nurse doing compressions, and at this point it was so slow. It's almost like you press the pause button. I'm just watching.
Yeah.
I thought I was about to lose my wife at the time and
Yeah.
my son, and so all of that, every bit of that trauma just like avalanched on me.
Yeah.
And I did cry that day.
Yeah.
I was just like it all came out, and so after a couple minutes of compressions, he started crying, and then all the relief.
Right.
And then I followed him to NICU, brought him back to the room to her. 10 hours later, 9 o'clock that night, on the 29th of September, 2020, I'm holding him, feeding him a bottle, and he's holding my hand, and he's doing this. I'm like, oh, he's got rhythm, and she actually got it on camera. They look down, his foot's doing the same thing.
Aww.
So he's having a seizure.
Oh shit.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
He said, oh, I know.
I'm like, oh, cool. He's gonna be a musician. Yeah, you're like, he's got rhythm. I'm like,
Yeah.
I love your delivery on some really bad shit. He's like,
It keeps you interested, right?
it does. It's like,
Yeah.
mom problems. My kid has rhythm. He was just having a seizure.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it was the result
Wow.
of breaking the suction. He had a brain bleed.
Oh my God.
So
Oh.
everything seemed calm and collected, and then I had to medify him to Little Rock to Children's, and so we spent a couple weeks out there. He was in a cooling jacket. It was sad because he's got all everything on him, and he's
You feel so helpless.
Yeah.
Like did you feel at that moment like you're just completely out of control? Like you have zero control over this
weirdly,
situation.
We had so much support from our church family that we were so much at peace. Also because I'm walking this NICU, and there's babies with big cotton balls of pillow, like organs and bags. Like he was full term. I'm like, this is I'll take this.
Right.
So perspective.
Finding the positive.
Yeah. So it was chaos, but even the company I worked for at the time, they were supportive. And we brought him home, and he's not looked back since then. No delays. The scarring in the brain's minimal.
Wow.
It's been great. The cool thing is I was actually 2-3 months premature myself, growing up or born. So I spent a lot of my time in the hospital as well early on.
Wow.
And I've had this correlation. I've looked done a lot of research that premature babies, or babies who spend weeks of their first couple weeks of life in a NICU, who don't get the physical touch, typically are very clingy. Like
that makes sense. My daughter's a preemie.
Because they lack that physical touch early on. So
she would crawl up my ass if I'd let her.
Yeah.
Well, she wasn't in the NICU. She got to go home. She shouldn't have, but they let her. She was 3 pounds, I think, when we left the hospital. 3 pounds 7 ounces when we left the hospital.
Yeah.
She was only 4 weeks early, but yeah, she was a preemie baby. Ugliest thing I'd ever seen, but we tried. Yeah, she looked like an alien baby monkey. It was so bad. Everyone's like, she's so beautiful, and I'm like, I know you lying, because she looks like a weirdo right now. But they do say trauma happens inside the womb.
Yeah.
Like trauma starts immediately inside the womb.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
No shit.
Mm-hmm. And when I used to work at the psychiatric hospital, we had a lot of kids that had reactive attachment disorder. So that's when they don't get the I guess like the skin on skin, or like the first they place the baby to their mom at the beginning, and they don't have that.
Yeah.
And so they say that can cause issues down the road. So he's adorable, by the way. I told him his son needs to be a baby model. He's beautiful. He's the most beautiful little boy I've ever seen. He is so gorgeous.
But he knows it, so he
knows
plays it.
Yeah, he's so cute.
Yeah.
Did you ever think, like, watching, you have your son, and like watching him grow, what has that done for you as a man? And has it healed a lot of things inside of you as the younger you?
Yeah, so
that's a good question.
So absolutely, and that aligns with this a lot of growth that's happened in the past year. It's my goal. If I can give Cypress 10-15% of what my dad gave me, he'll be well off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's implementing all those old. I'm an old soul. I've raised myself essentially. So it's giving him that structure and that support and that love that my dad gave me, but hopefully a lot longer than 12 years.
Yeah.
Kids. I think majority for people, kids do align your priorities and make you want to give better.
My kid saved my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I had her in 12th grade. I don't want to know what I would have been without her. My God. I'm serious. Like, she saved God. Wow.
Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah.
So it definitely initiates a whole new drive. But it was hard because neither his mom or I had any parents involved. So we're alone. And a lot of support from friends and family, but we didn't have, we're running businesses. It brought a lot of chaos. I had traumas that I had not healed from.
Did having a kid cause a little bit more stress within, and I say that in a way, we know kids are a blessing. Let's get that out of the way. We know that shit. But when it comes down to it, having a child changes everything in a relationship. Did that change the trajectory of your marriage?
Well, it was planned. Cypress was planned.
Right. You can plan all day long for kids, but no one's ever full. You cannot plan. So
you can't plan. I think. Obviously, it was a whole new lifestyle. I mean, not only have we just merged two lives together as in marriage, but then we also brought another one on, and it was a lot of stress. As a man, I think any man really, but as someone who grew up poor, like people think I inherited all this money. I wish,
right?
But no, I have not. And so I don't want to even take any steps back financially. And so I'm doing medical sales and roofing.
Okay.
I'm pushing, working, trying to provide. Now I
Yeah.
have another human.
Yeah.
I got support.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
money. It's like, okay, and we just bought a bigger house and cars.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was just more of I got to work more. I got to
Yeah.
support. She was staying home, running her business from home. There's a lot more stress for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So when did you guys decide that, obviously this isn't healthy for both of us, but we're going to do our best to raise our son?
We made it happen. I mean, we made it work out the gate.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, I think I mean, there was always tension, and I can.
Well, if it was perfect, y'all would have been together. You know what I mean? I always say that if it was perfect post divorce, then you guys could have worked it out. There's going to be some bumps. But.
Yeah, and again, and I couldn't tell you this a year ago, but I can tell you now, like with all the growth I've had in therapy and stuff, that it a majority of that falls on me. In regards to I was not present there, and we had a miscarriage after Cyprus, and I was not emotionally there, so that is 1,000% on me. But I didn't know how to be there emotionally for people, because for me, I treat everyone how I'd want to be treated during emotion. Leave me alone. Like I isolate.
Yeah.
And so I isolated. I wasn't there.
But the whole time she was needing you to be there.
Yeah.
I
So,
think that, like you mentioned, I'm sorry that
no,
you think that falls back, like with you not having a mom,
Yeah.
like present.
and
as
then
far as
just
that.
and just how I cope with things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a lot like that too. Like when I go through something, I just go inside myself and I'm by myself and I don't I just check out completely.
Mm-hmm.
But in my head, I'm thinking if I deal with this my way, I'm not hurting anyone around me. So it's better that I just deal with this instead of leaning on somebody. And I will tell you, being in a relationship, that is not the best way to do that.
No.
Yeah.
It's hard, but I'm a woman, so I carry those emotions. Men are supposed to be strong for their woman. So when her person that she's trying to lean on at this time is kind of checked out, that sucks. That's hard.
Yeah.
And for you to admit that shows so much growth, and I hope that you know that. Because, I mean, you're young. You were young then. Nobody has a play-by-play of how families are supposed to work, especially when you've not had a good... I never had a good...
example.
I had no idea. I was always just kind of thought if it was tough, go. Be independent, leave. You don't have to stick around through the hard stuff. So when you're trying to build your career and you're trying to build your family and things just aren't, connecting, it's healthier to walk away.
Sure.
But so now you have this little boy, So are you feeling like shit? I did this, what my family did to me. I did it to him. Did you ever kind of come across that?
Never crossed my mind,
That's
actually.
good. That's good.
Surprisingly. So for me...
Do you see why I would say that, though?
Oh, no, absolutely.
Okay.
If I didn't have an optimistic mindset at first,
Yeah, right. I'm a doomsdayer, so it's like, the whole world.
So for me, it was kind of cool because now I'm a single father like my dad was. He was a perfect Mr. Mom.
I love
so I'm
that.
like, all right, I get to,
Yeah.
yeah. So I get to figure this out like my dad did, and just invest my time with him and have a lot of one-on-one, and it also made me because she was physically raising him at home while I was out working, so I quickly learned actually how to fully raise a child.
Yeah.
But truthfully, I've never had a child, obviously, but a kiddo. But I pay attention to other kids.
Yeah.
And his mom will attest to this, and her husband Josiah, like he is a perfect child. Like,
Yeah.
Well, he has his exhausted moments. This morning when I dropped him off, he was clingy to me, but he's just been so easy, and I think his chaotic interest in the world makes him appreciative of life.
Mm-hmm.
He's just naturally kind of a little optimistic.
Yeah.
So he's been super, super easy. He didn't have terrible twos, none of these, whatever the threes are.
Yeah. Like he's just cool. Like that's how I never understood those people who are like, oh, I can't come to dinner tonight. My kids, I can't bring them out in public. They don't know. Like I would go out with my kids all the time. There would be like a group of 15 adults at a party, and I'd have my kids before my mom could come get or whatever. Mm-hmm. And my kids were always so great. And I guess because they grew up and it was already kind of tumultuous for them, like they went through a lot of shit too. But, like, I don't know, they just adapt, and they were just so happy being where they were at. Like, they had no clue that what we were going through was tough. Kind of like what you said before. Yeah. They had no idea. Mm-hmm. And so, I love that. And he's so adorable. So, after you're divorced, you go into this. You're a new dad. You're single. Let's dive into that. you know, I do hear you're a bit of a playboy,
yeah.
right? Which is, like, here's the thing: you're single, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
If you want to date 1,000 girls and hook up with her, like I think people, and also too, because we are on a platform in such a small town, that, you know, obviously you're fine. You know, you kind of easy get that. It's easy to do, you know, being single in this town, whatever. You see, you're out having dinner with a girl that's a friend. Next thing you know, it's look who's out, you know, whatever. All right, so taking it back, take us through you being a father and being single. What's that life look for you? You're newly single. You're out on the prowl.
Okay, so
Throwing ass all over town.
So most of my friends in my marriage, so I moved here from my ex-wife. Didn't know anybody but case managers and a few doctors. So most of my friends were husbands of her friends. So obviously during the divorce, I kind of dissociated.
Right.
There were, you know, so I didn't it was just me. So I don't have a problem making friends, but it was just a whole new world here versus an hour and a half away in Tulsa. Sure. And then it's that you would call it at the time I'm free.
Yeah.
But also don't want chaos because at this point still I am still shoving all my emotions down inside. So the stress of like, okay, we have a broken family now, trying to raise this kid the best I can, all of that while also trying to now find a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had a dinner with my younger sister. This was very insightful too. This is probably 2 months ago, and she was in a long 2-year relationship, and she's been dating, and she said, I almost feel like it's kind of like being a monkey. You gotta grab a branch before you let go of the other branch. And I was like, holy shit, that's exactly what I do. Yeah. And so it was kind of cool though because we have the same trauma.
Yeah.
We now know where it came from.
Yeah.
So that, and at this time after my divorce, I didn't know I was just filling my time, you know.
Right. Right. So did you feel like you jumped into, I wouldn't quote it like say relationships, but to the attention of women pretty quickly?
Validation, yeah.
Did you have a problem being alone at the time?
I partied a lot.
Yeah.
When I met a few friends, and then they were from here, so I got plugged in real quick. And if you're the guy buying everyone in the bar shots, then they love you.
Yeah, we talked about that.
But I work the nightlife a little bit, so I like to bring energy even to a room. I mean, so
yeah.
And if I've got the money, I'll buy everybody drinks. Cool.
But they're not getting to know you for you.
Yeah, 2 or 3% of you know, every out of 100, 2 or 3 people will actually like see through the BS. And offer to buy me a drink, which is rare.
Right.
But anyways, that plugged me into the nightlife, and I think everyone who's from this town probably knows. If you're staying downtown till 5 a.m., not good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
You regret it the next morning, but it's more so like you can just get stuck in that.
Yeah. Well, the hype, when I was going out all the time. And I mean, I was doing 8 balls a weekend. Shit. I mean, I'm very open with that. I mean, I was that girl. Like, we were going out. But as a business owner, I almost kind of associated it with success. And this is how twisted it was. It was like, I own my own business. I have my own house. I'm single. I'm independent. I'm raising my kids. And you go out and people know who you are. And then you're doing like an 8-ball weekend. And so it's like all of a sudden you have all these people around you. Yeah. And then like people are like, hey, you got like, next thing you know, like random people are coming up to you asking you if you have any. And then you're like, hold on, like, wait, this is getting crazy. But I loved, like, I'm very energetic. I'm that like, I like always the loudest one in the room and, the hype person. And I loved that. I loved that I had people, because I wasn't popular in school. I didn't have like a whole bunch of friends. But like just knowing like people wanted to be around me, wanted to be in that group because we were the partiers. Yeah. We were in, it's a high in and of itself. And then you're partying. But I wasn't like getting high with like people who are like crackheads. I was getting fucking high with like lawyers, business owners, people you wouldn't even imagine whose houses we were at doing coke. Like it was insane. And so I felt like this is what successful people do. they celebrate and they enjoy their hard work by doing stuff like this. Because I'm surrounded by successful people doing blow on the weekends and and I'm like, oh, now these people are finally talking to me. These people are finally giving me the time of the day.
Yeah.
When before they wouldn't even talk to me. And so I'm like, I totally understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
And I had that run through when I was early on. I was 22 years old in medical sales, and I these are doctors are 40, 50 plus. So I'm like, how do I get them to listen to a 22-year-old?
Yeah.
I found it all out. I made success, but they would take me to Vegas 2-3 times a year because if they brought me as a rep, it's a write-off for them. Same thing. I'm surrounded by. I'm like, what's going on? Like, first off, this is the movies too. Do I look? Do I do it? Do I look away? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you said that because I think that happens to a lot of people if they get into that niche of people where you think, well, it must be okay. Like,
I was thinking
they're saving lives and they're doing it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was such a justification for me. It's like they're still getting, and I mean, I was too. Like, I was still getting up, going to work. I was paying my bills. I wasn't like not paying my light bill to afford this or whatever. And don't get me wrong, it was fun until it became like I'm surprised I'm not in prison. I mean, hell, I met some random dude in the back of Purple Haze in Memphis one time, 300-pound dude, to buy coke from him. Like I was just doing because everyone was gassing me up, and then the more I would throw myself out there to do reckless shit, the more people were like gassing me up for it, and it was like it fed this ego, and I just never saw anything wrong with it because I wasn't still doing anything wrong to my knowledge. It's just not good to get sucked up, but I do understand, like,
it's easy to.
It's a rush, man. That lifestyle is
it's
a rush.
Easy to, and like you said, the ego, like it's what feeds that.
Yeah. But then once I stopped going out and I stopped doing coke and things like that, I stopped hearing from those people. A lot of those people now are either incarcerated, so I'm super thankful God took me out when He did.
That's not true friends there.
They're not supporting my business, but people would know me when I'd go out, and that was like exciting in and of itself,
It's all a status.
Yeah. It's
yeah.
crazy. So you're getting this nightlife. You're starting. Is this when your roofing company starts to be the most your independent source of income, or?
So amid my divorce is when I stepped out of the medical field.
Okay.
COVID really kind of, I didn't think it really bothered me, but seeing the senior crowd basically die alone. Just struck up some traumas for me. My grandparents passing. And my company was taking off a little more, so I decided to step away, full-time roofing, and a few guys that I'd hired were big on the partying thing, so that's how I just fell into it. Now I'm coming from OKC, where I am very well known, and I bring the party to the club, so this was like cake to me, but it felt good to have that, like you mentioned, like that familiar energy and that feeling again.
Yeah.
But also that's not even necessarily what I chased. I just chased I wanted to bring a good night to people, and again, if I can afford the drinks, then I'll buy them. So I brought a lot of energy to the good old Rooster and mostly Roosters and strip club and we'd go to NWA, and I actually Tin Roof. I would make them.
Tin Roof, I love Tin Roof.
So I like sections. I like to bring bottles out. You can't do it here. So I'd have them rope off a section, and people thought celebrities were coming, but we'd walk in. So, it was a lot of fun. Do I regret the amount of money I spent? Man, absolutely. Lots of money.
What did you do? So this is kind of where I want to get a little deep with you. Okay.
Dig it.
I dig it. And I say this because I think this is the biggest misconception about you. When you're doing this, what are you hurting?
Yeah, I was not in therapy at this point.
What are you chasing?
Acceptance, validation, friends, because I felt like I was in a world alone again, and so it almost felt familiar to the fact that I lost my dad, essentially, because I did feel like a failure to my son, because the family's broken up, essentially because of me.
I get that.
But I didn't surround. It's important to surround yourself with people who are good for you. Not saying my friends were bad for me. I mean, a lot of them have been bad for me, but
they're not going to be the type that's going to say, "Listen,
Yeah, you
Heath, it's
can't-
time for you to stop. You need to
Yeah.
really buckle down and
That's the court
focus."
system.
They're not going to be that person, you
No.
know.
No, and here's the part that's very important to put a spotlight on is I have this insanely healthy group of friends. Most of them work at Mercy, and I was friends with them before my divorce was going through. I neglected them because it was more fun to go party. But the part that I love every single one of them, and because when I neglected them for a year, they were still there. Whenever I realized, oh shit, I need to reel it back in. It's rare to find those kind of friends that like oh, cool, you neglect me, screw you.
Yeah.
You know, we're done. But it's an insanely healthy group. But to have it so close to home, and it was my choice. It all falls on me. I think God gives us, you know, your life comes to a Y at times, and and I always say, like, if if God's telling you to go right, if His will is right, and you go left, He's gonna put signs in the path saying, "Hey, turn around," and at one point, if you don't, He's just gonna humble you and go, boom.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's been a very humbling past year and a half for sure, 2 years for sure. But yeah, I was in a lot of pain, and at the moment I didn't feel it because it was hidden and masked by that partying facade and everything, and but it was more so like it was all about me. It was not about. I mean, I loved giving energy to people, but like I was just being very selfish in the way that, like, I'm the one that did that. Like everyone like you said.
Yeah,
everyone
you're the guy. You're the main guy.
I walk into the strip club. Everyone puts tables around me.
Yeah.
But I'm paying for attention, and like I learned that after the fact. Now again, a handful of people are still there, and they did give me snippets of like, hey, watch out for this person, or don't do this, stop buying drinks, and I was like, oh, screw it.
Yeah, right.
But I'm still going through all that, the analyzing of what exactly I was dealing with. I've coped with a lot of it. I've healed a lot of it, but there's still a lot more I haven't uncovered yet from all that.
And I think, unfortunately, you get a certain facade or this label about you, and it just sticks. I think that's what I've experienced in this town. You know, it's like nobody can change. Like, nobody in this town believes another person can change or manifest into something or grow. But I think, you know, seeing that, you know, because I never saw you, and the next thing I know, you're everywhere. Like, that's like seeing you on social media. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, I saw you picture with my sister, and I'm like, who's this guy? You know, and then I ended up knowing who you are through a mutual person, and you know, you look at things like social media, and you look at things, and you think, man, this guy has it all. You know, you're good looking, you seemingly, you know, are making good money, your business looks, you've got a great relationship with your kid, you're pretty out there on social media. I feel like you do put a lot out there. But I think it's really important for everyone to come to the understanding that we all hurt, and we all hurt differently. There's not a blueprint on the proper way to hurt or work through trauma. And sometimes for me, I know that I could be at my lowest, but I'm that girl dancing on the bar, buying every pouring, you know, shots in people's mouth and giving, you know, lining up rails for everyone to do, you know, and then I go home that night and I fucking hate the person I look at in the mirror. And, but if you saw my social media or you saw me in person, you would have never known that. You would have never known that, like, I won't even dye my hair as dark as that my hair was then, because it brings back so much like trauma of like what I look like then, because of the person I was. Like, I am like, I can't even, like, it's almost like PTSD I have from being that point in my life, because I was to everyone else the best fucking thing, but to me, I prayed to God every day I didn't wake up, you know, because I was hurting so bad, and nobody in my circle cared enough to get me back on track, you know. And it was a business deal, a business partner that we went our separate ways was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was the best thing that ever happened to me.
That's dope.
Sometimes steps back definitely shake you and wake you, and that's kind of what happened. I mean, I let a few people in too close, thought they were family, and had some backstabbing going on. So also in the midst of this, though, I prayed this dangerous prayer. I asked God to break me and make me who He wants me to be. I knew I kind of hit that bottom. I realized like this partying has developed to become a lifestyle, and I'm sleeping until 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm pushing back work. Like, it was detrimental.
Yeah.
And now I will admit and say I was being a little bit reckless, but I was still, the priority was still being on time for Cyprus. Like, I didn't neglect that at all. There was accusations about that, which is fine, but from people, but
Well, what they also don't understand too, and as a parent, I will say when I was younger and I was going out all the time, you know, I would either be condemned because I didn't post my kids on social media, and I would only post like me going out partying.
Mm-hmm.
Then like, where's your kid at? You know, and then you're like, well,
Yeah.
wait a minute, like that's like 2 hours of the time I've had them all fucking week. You know, it's like, and I'm just posting the 2 hours that I was out with friends and I was home by the time that they were awake. You know,
Yeah.
and then now it's like, don't post your kids on social media because it's dangerous. And I'm like, well, what the hell do you want? You know, so and those rumors, they get around so quickly. I mean, so don't take that to.
Yeah.
I know it sucks because as a person who strives to be the perfect parent, any type of like kind of blowback of your detriment of your parenting. You say what you want about my character, but me as a parent, oh God, that'll bring me to my knees.
Yeah. Well, and it's happened a lot. Like, the more spotlight you have, you're gonna get, which you get haters, and you have that perspective that the more people talk, the better you're doing. You're doing something right.
Right.
But in OKC, I was talked about a lot. Wasn't a big deal. But like you mentioned, now I have a kid, and you can attack me all you want, but you attack me being a dad.
Yeah.
It's on.
Yeah.
So that I mean, it has happened because when I started removing myself from the nightlife, like you mentioned earlier, was it's just like that when the concept of saying when you stop reaching out to people, see how long it takes them to reach out to you, that kind of thing. But that's when I started seeing through the smoke about who was real. But there was some stuff went down with the business.
Now the roofing business, let's dive into that a little bit. I know the roofing business here is it's a dog eat dog world. It's
been
a
a great
lot.
past 3 years.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So take us into that. You know, where did you find that your calling was with that?
That's a good question. Yeah. So I learned my calling back when I did my social media marketing. Was I loved seeing growth. It's cool when you can work on something and then 2 years down the road you're like, man, look what we just built this.
Yeah.
So I loved the growth with local businesses, and then but it was serving people, which kind of implemented and evolved more into the medical field. It was home health and hospice. So for me, I knew what home health was. I didn't know at the time until I got into it, because there were nurses at my house from my dad, and hospice nurses, and then my grandparents. So I was familiar with it. And that's kind of why I went to be a nurse, because I was around nurses a lot.
Yeah.
But I was able to have these hard conversations with families, but they could feel it, that I knew I empathize for them. I've been through it. But I was serving a community that needed help. And so the roofing was kind of the same thing. I think there's a lot of fraud in construction in general. And so I wanted to bring a different perspective, and no one ever believes that I'm a roofer, which is fine. I tell them, like, hey, I came from medical sales. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
God, it just happened. But I am spirit led. I never would have guessed I'd be in a medical field. I never would have guessed at all I'd own a roofing company.
Where did the name Trifecta come into?
Yeah. So I am obviously. I would not be where I'm at today without God. Everything I have. You ever have those mornings where you wake up and you're like, how'd I get here? Like, I still feel
every
like a kid.
day.
Yeah. So I mean, I all the time. I mean, the roof over my head, the car, just everything, and it's spirit led. It's almost as if God grabbed my hand when my dad had to let go. It truly feels like that. And so, but it's my choice, and this is where it happens. My company was doing very well before I started partying, and chose a different path. And then it's almost like God had to pause my opportunities, because he couldn't trust me with them.
Oh, that's
and now because of all this chaos that's happened that we'll get into, he's unpaused that. And now so much has happened in the past month, like massive things. So I always want to say that, because I feel like if chaos is happening in your life and you feel like your success just stopped and someone threw a kink in the hose, just reanalyze yourself, change your priorities, because I really feel like that's when God says, hold on, I got something for you, but I don't want you to judge. I don't want you to ruin it.
Yeah. So, but that opportunity.
You're not ready, grasshopper.
Yeah. Like it's just not time.
Yeah. So the company was formed. Me and James, my old business partner, he has an incredible story, which that could be a whole different podcast episode.
Yeah.
Dude was found blue a couple times, in with the mafia in Memphis.
Wow.
Like
What?
changed. But you met him today, you would never believe that. Dude's gifted. To the point. Walk up to a guy at the gas station, homeless guy, in between our jobs, and he'll just put his hand on him and start telling him what his life is. Like speaking, it was
like
wild.
prophecy. Yeah.
Wild. But anyways, so we were very faith-based. At the time, my whole life has been, and so James and I came together to start this company, and we didn't know what we were going to call it. And the name came to me in prayer, and then James, he said I actually have it. Well, it's in my car actually. The initial prototype of our logo, which is a T, but the T's a roof with a cross in it. So James drew that up, and we didn't know, we didn't spend any money on marketing. We started every morning in prayer, and people just started calling his phone, like from years ago. People he met at Walmart, and like weird stuff. But God had just blessed this company, and so that was the approach to the industry itself, was to change it, was to give it a more spirit-led and walk in love kind of vibe, to where people are going through the most stressful part of their life. It's the biggest investment, damaged most time from some sort, or being destroyed and remodeled. Is that trust very early on is very, very important. So Trifecta came from being spirit-led. Essentially was to brand, and people are always kind of scared, like you don't want to amplify your faith on your brand too much. Well, I'm not doing it for other people. I don't care. I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah, you're the one leading the company. And it's always crazy. Like, I love that, because anytime in reference to living or wealth or religion, they always say, I put a roof over your head. Like, they always reference the roof being the essential protection over your family. And so I love that kind of coexists with the two. I think that's really cool. So going into it, obviously it's a dog eat dog world, just like any business. So you had mentioned earlier, this has been the toughest, kind of awakening. What's going on?
Yeah, so
what you can get into.
Let's get into it all. So it's about a year and a half ago, November of 2022. Got approached to partner with the company in Florida. I knew the guy past 10 years. Should have had some hindsight, but so I should have just thought back on the actual what happened. Anyways, chaos erupted. Greed set in. I'm owed lots of money down there. I invested a lot. I guaranteed loans to help run things out there, and then it's a mess. So I almost went under because of that.
Now, I did hear that your business was kind of...
Oh, ask him when in town.
What's your
Trifecta's going bankrupt.
Okay, I did hear that. Yes,
and it's coming from the two people who I'm suing.
So it's not true?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I mean, now, if I never went to Florida, if we were here today, I'd have $2 million in the bank.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have a lot of money in the business account, but it's been hard because I'm paying these. I'm gonna say this, in MCA, if you're a business owner, stay away from it. It's a payday loan for business, but you can get it in 24 hours. Got those high interest. At one point, I had $40,000 a week coming out of my business account.
Yeah.
Because they're paying back the loans.
Wow.
And then the payment stopped in Florida. It was chaos. Like they're imploding in Florida. IRS is gonna be involved very soon. Chaos. So I disassociated from all of that and just cut my loss.
Yeah.
Assumed all the debt. I said I didn't want to get pulled into the hole out there.
Yeah.
Now the people I sent out there didn't help. I partied out there too. But some people I sent out there didn't help. Just drama and all that kind of stuff. But with that alone almost put me under.
Yeah.
And this is where I leaned all into God, because if I couldn't get through this by myself. Now God doesn't take you out of situations. He helps you work through it and helps you take something from it. Then the chaos happened here. Had some former sales guys start a company on the side, say whatever they want to say. I stopped paying them. Got records.
Yeah.
And I was giving them leads. I give all my guys leads, and they were running on the side, try to delete files. the story's been told. There's always three sides to every story.
Right,
I
right.
say two, but three sides.
His side,
but,
her side, and the truth.
but when I have software that has all the proof of everything, deletions and stuff.
Yeah. There's
So, but I'm not the kind of guy just like, fuck you.
Right,
you know.
right.
So I approached him and I said, just pay me out.
yeah.
I know what you took, and it was no go. So, this is the first time. This is good for me, and I'm not doing a lawsuit to get anything. I won't get anything. The amount of money the lawsuit's over is they're never gonna be able to pay back.
Yeah.
But I did it to stand up for myself because I've always been a pushover. Just not intentionally, but just I fold because
yeah.
I don't want to be the reason why someone's unhappy.
Right.
Or maybe I have too much patience. So
Yeah.
for me, it was standing up for myself in business, and I realized at that point I need to be I can be a great guy, but sometimes I need to be a borderline asshole in business.
That's where I've made my mistakes as
like
being a
it.
business
Yeah.
owner.
Yeah.
Is I just want everyone to succeed, and I
Yeah.
just want everyone to get theirs, and I just I've always said if it takes me selling my soul to be successful, I'll never be successful. But I will never get ahead because you have to have that business asshole like mentality to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
And when you want to see other people succeed, the hardest thing for me to really learn being as a business owner is that people aren't going to care for me the same way that I care for them.
No.
But it's
Yeah.
so easy in this town to. Here's the thing, and I hope everyone understands that even when you watch TV, like say Real Housewives for example, okay, and they have they own businesses. If you really deep dive, how many times have those women been sued? This happens in business. People get sued. People end up in legality issues. That doesn't mean you're a bad person or whatever.
No.
This is what business is, and this is what happens. And you can Google several businesses and see how many times they've been sued or been in some sort of lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because it happens when you're dealing with
Yeah.
real money.
Yeah.
So and I think that in this town, because people aren't used to that, some guy in a
Yeah.
suit,
Yeah.
having this roofing company, and then it's kind of like what we talked about in our last podcast. Anything they can find on you, they run with that narrative, and it's like,
That's it.
they going with it.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about it. Walmart, McDonald's, people can file lawsuits all they want.
Anytime about
But
anything.
until a judgment happens, it's nothing.
Right.
But I mean,
What is one rumor when it comes to this that's happening that you want to clear up, that you can legally, that you've heard that you would like to clear up?
yeah. So one that I stopped paying people.
Okay.
It's not happening.
That's a big allegation.
Because one of them was $8,700 in the hole. I'd given him money when he stopped working.
Yeah.
He was like a brother to me. The other one, I paid him a week before I fired him, which I knew about what they were doing weeks before I actually fired him. I had to I just wanted to make sure I was with the FBI.
Yeah.
No, I have physical proof that one owed me a lot of money, and the other one was paid up until the day he quit, and two that were going under because we're not.
Yeah.
So it's under a lot of strain. I'll be very transparent with that. I'll tell anybody that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a part of your testimony.
Yeah, I mean,
why would you want to go into something trying to say? I mean, I get it. You don't want to show weakness, but I think it's important that at a part that you say, "Hey, yeah, like my business is struggling like a motherfucker right now." You know why?
when I
I
say
don't give a shit. Say what you talk your shit, because it is.
yeah, so, when I say struggling, it's just a matter of if I was in a situation like I was when I was divorced, I wouldn't be able to go out and buy drinks for everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
From the business, but it's
But that shouldn't matter. That shouldn't be what defines whether or not you're
no.
successful. But it's a sad that it is.
Yeah, and it's more so like I'm just smart about money. So like I'm reinvesting back into. I've hired. Actually, I haven't looked for anybody. This is where God has came into play. I've leaned more onto Him throughout all this, and I have 7 sales guys, a whole new solar division. We're about to ink a deal to build 21 houses. Like we got a corporate solar contract we're about to sign. Like we got massive stuff in the next 30 days.
Yeah.
This is now going to be we're gonna probably do a 5x.
Yeah.
In a couple months. And
You're growing.
But that's because I was trying to fix all this by myself.
Yeah.
And I had to stop and just remind myself like how did I get where I'm at today? I leaned on to God, and so I stopped and just did it again. I just said a prayer, and you ever had those like. If you're ever just meditating or praying, you get those chills, like I call them Holy Spirit chills.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of clarity, and then people started messaging me, "Hey, I'm looking for a job. You hiring?"
Mm-hmm.
And then opportunities. It's been very, very interesting the past 6 weeks.
Yeah. I grew up Pentecostal. I know about them holy chills. Okay.
Yeah.
I know about that little
you know about
chills.
that?
Trust me. And it's crazy that I do feel like when you're ready, then he sends those that are ready
Yeah.
too, and that's exciting. And I think that shows a lot of growth. And I think that shows a lot of maturity that you've stepped back from the party scene and stopped trying to build, I think organic friendships are so important.
Yeah.
And I've kind of got into my own thing of like, I try not to mix friendship with business, but sometimes it's hard when you're with those people all the time and you form this, friendship and stuff and things like that. But going forward, whether it's relationship or business, what is happening with Heath now? Where are you now with relationships going into it in business? Who are you today?
Yeah, well, the first thing is everyone's signing non-competes. They're signing agreements. So legally structured, we're bulletproof now.
Yeah.
It's being able to disassociate the business relationship, but still be friends outside of work. To the point that
and not mixing business with pleasure.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I made that mistake. Like, don't snort cocaine off somebody's ass with your employees, okay? Don't do that. That's a bad idea. Don't go out with your friends and get drunk or from your work, because that's a bad idea too. Shit pops off, and then you bring it back to your business, and it's like, whoa, this was my main goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have team nights, like watching live music at the patio. We're at the, we'll do that, but it's just being disciplined and not getting like, where we're going after this.
Right.
Just being disciplined, having it, because I realized that
reward them because they're hard work.
Yeah. And
set a goal, and then
I got to lead by example. If I'm wanting to go to the strip club, then of course I want to go.
Yeah.
My boss is taking me to the strip club, cool.
Yeah.
And I always joke with everybody. I'm like, listen, the only thing I do not want my logo in a mug shot. So just don't wear the shirt if you're gonna go out and drink.
Yeah.
So why would I be encouraging people to go to the strip club?
You're right.
So I've had so much clarity and growth, and sadly it took mostly females. It took me hurting women in relationships and just some people. I've been hurt a lot too. Took a lot of pain to get to where I'm at today.
Hurt people.
Yeah, I heard that. But it's I'm in a healthy spot right now. Like my ex-wife, she's happily married, has a newborn. Like we are we're like best friends now.
That's amazing.
And honestly, like I just if you took her husband and me and put us in the same room, you would say like, oh, who could love both these guys?
Right.
But she found the love that she
needed.
And that makes me so happy, because we all three work together, and we put my son first. That took a lot of stress off my day to day, because again, I didn't want him to have these traumas from having a broken family, or ever having that thought of like, I gotta choose.
I love that. I love that so much, because to me, I co-parent so well with my daughter's dad. Like, he's remarried with like 1,000 kids. And we did her sweet 16th birthday together. Like, we got her a car and surprised her. We sit at the games together. She's got a little brother that I just absolutely adore. And I don't have to compete for a spot to be her mother.
Right.
She knows who her mother is. Yeah. And if I die today, I know damn well that she's going to have a good woman that's going to guide her, and a good father. Right. And that's all you can really ask when things don't work out that way. And for y'all to learn that such early on, everything down to prom, down to his wedding, down to the most pivotal points in his life are going to be so easy for him, because he doesn't have to worry about which side of the fence he's going to have to sit on. Yeah. And, something tells me, I'm sure when that baby's older, you'll have both of them one day, his little brother or sister or whatever. 100%. And I think that that's truly important, because that is breaking trauma. That is breaking generational curses, because our parents couldn't do it, and it's like, here you are, and at the end of the day, I think you're his dad, and that's important,
It's the I mean I think that probably was a stressor on both. She's probably still stressing back because I'm not married yet, but it was a stressor for me is like, it's co-parenting. I never had that. I never had a co-parenting approach myself, but it's beautiful. I never would have dreamed of it, but the families and the cool part is, because neither Lauren and I either have parents.
Yeah.
There's no grandparents for him. So the cool thing is, Cypress has grandparents now.
That's awesome. So,
but it is beautiful. That took a lot of stress off my stuff, and just we worked so well together, all three of us. But and then I brought on this business partner Ironically, his last name is Robinson too, which is wild, but we're not related. But
Yeah.
but we've got a lot of stuff going on. So like it's just more so now. I'm actually glad everything happened because it's like the crypto or market or the Wall Street. You know, the stocks can keep going up. They got to do a pullback, and they bounce higher. So I just had a pullback, and that's fine because you learn a lot from pullbacks, and then you get to pick up the pieces and restructure with stronger glue or better structure, better foundation, and then we can take off again. So we're about to do way more, cover more territory. I've got a strong team now that I trust. That's been
important.
poached. All of them's been poached.
Yeah.
They've all said no.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of them could make more money with sign-on bonuses with other companies, but they chose me. And they don't know this. Well, it's not now they will if they watch this. But if the day ever comes, I sell it to private equity, which they've been trying to buy me out for a couple of years. They're all getting a piece of the pie because loyalty. It's heavy. Loyalty's heavy for me. Because I've had loyalty in my life. Like it's rare.
Yeah.
But if you believe in me, then I will give you everything I possibly.
You're gonna eat before I
I'm the
eat.
same way. I love loyalty. I'm big on loyalty too.
You are big on loyalty.
I'm the same
It's
way.
rare.
It's real rare.
It is. And that can make or break you, you know, as a person in business or whatever.
Yeah.
So as far as business, we're rebounding, and I can resonate so much because even with this knee surgery, you know, I mean, it's a major surgery. It's single-handedly derailed my entire life, you know, my businesses and everything. And when you're stuck at home day in, day out by yourself, you think people care about you. They don't. You know, it's like it's like God really had to set me down because he knew my ass won't sit down. He knows me. He knows like I'm batshit crazy. So he's like, all right, bitch, I'm going to cut your leg halfway off. You're going to have to sit there because you can't physically walk, and now you're gonna listen to me, okay? And I'm like, yes sir. And you know, and I really feel like it was the best opportunity for me to get closer to him, to really reevaluate myself and what I wanted to do with my business, and actually have more appreciation for my body and being able to work. And so I totally resonate with that. You know, it's a setback can be such a beautiful thing, and it can be such a blessing. I love setbacks because I come back that bitch. I always do, and I always have.
Yeah,
and
she comes back better.
Yes, all the time.
It's a choice you make, though.
It's a choice. It's a choice. Because there's plenty of times where I have said, I'm done. I want to give up. Why do I try? I don't get support from the community. We try to do this. We don't get support from the community. And I do think, you know, being in this town, if one person has something negative to say about you, they're in, you know, 50, and then next thing you know, everyone else hears about it, and you haven't even had a chance to defend yourself. And that's kind of what we wanted for you today.
Yeah.
Not so much a chance for you to defend yourself, because I feel like you're pretty secure in who you are, but maybe just like some verbal, like, hey, this is what's being said and done. This is who I am, but get to know me first before you make this assumption. And I hope that, I feel like we've done that today. I do hope moving forward to you, I think as humans, you know, we're always healing. I'm always on a healing journey because I'm always making mistakes. Always. Yeah. Whether that's parenting or being just a better person or trying, you know, to, and you said earlier, those that were there for you, you know, you kind of blew them off, but they were still there. Yeah. That is kind of the epiphany I had for myself, because those ones that reached out to me, I took so much advantage. I was more focused on the ones that didn't. Right. Instead of taking care of the ones that did. And that's what I'm working on now. But I hope for you that you realize, you know, your clothes, your jewelry, the drinks, the people. Yeah, that's great. Awesome. You know, but who you are to them, like your dad was to you, that's where you're the richest to me. Yeah, right. That is what you're going to pass on to them. They're not going to remember the drinks that you bought them, but they will remember the things that your dad told you that you're passing on, the wisdom that you're carrying on. Don't lose sight of that. Don't lose sight of that.
And that's something, you know, that's another big thing I've had a lot of clarity on, is because once you are shaken off the chaos that you've piled on your life, and you start re-seeing like who you actually are internally, it starts shining brighter. And so I definitely, and I'm in this phase with Cypress. He's 3.5. Like now it's like it's go time. Like he's at like the peak of sponge where everything I'm doing, saying is very important. And I know, I mean, the more simple the life, the better your life is. I'd sell big ass house, but I got a 2.5 interest rate. So like, it's stupid to do that.
Yeah.
I'm over all these
don't
big
do that.
things.
Yeah.
I'm over all the stuff that I chased, and the smaller my circle, the better it is. But I'm my purpose on this podcast too is just to shake that stereotype that I want people to be able to approach me, like ask me questions. I don't care, but I've got no beef with anybody in my past. It happened for a purpose and a reason, and I to the point that I've told other people, the 2 people that I'm in a lawsuit with, I've forgiven them. We could be friends again. We'll never be brothers, but we can be friends. There's no reason why we can't laugh and joke around as competitors like I do with the other roofing companies.
Right.
But I mean, lessons are learned, and I think that there's probably been some conviction on their side as well as mine, that and we grow from it. It's like when 2 men get in a fight. Usually they're friends afterwards.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes.
Not unlike us girls. We're like, I hate you forever.
A little bit different.
It's such a different phase.
Yeah.
So last question before we wrap it up. Going into a relationship now, who are you going into a new relationship?
Yeah, and this is where, listen, I'll say it to whatever camera's looking at me. If anyone over 26, probably benefits from therapy. Even if you think you're perfect, because we've all been through a lot of crap, and I'm learning things that I would have no idea about. So I'm just identifying more so like just slow my roll and let effort be given a little bit too. But it's just I'm not looking anymore.
I love that.
And I always have looked because I'm always trying to fill the void. And I've probably over promised things, and with I fell in love with, my therapist told me I fell in love with potential in people, and so which is heavy.
Yeah, that is.
That's
Yeah.
Which,
That's what my therapist told me one time. Like, I am in love with the idea of the person, of the idea of what I think the person can be. And that is, and I've had a lot of bad relationships like that, because in my head, I have that too. Like, I just have this like discernment of like, I know your worth, I know what you're capable of, and I will break me trying to build you.
100%.
And I did that in a lot of relationships, and it never,
like my last one was like that. Yeah.
And I just had to sit with myself and say, this person is not going to be that, like if they want to be, it's going to have to be because of them. So and I love that you can, and I love that the self reflection, I love the accountability. I will say I'm a little shocked by that. I didn't know what to expect coming from you. But I do think, I mean, even when you went to the bathroom, he's like, man, he's cool as hell. It's like, yeah, I'm like, because when we go into this so organic and not knowing it, like, because we wanted to have, like, we don't want a biased opinion about anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, we just want to have everyone just feel like it's like a clean slate here. Heath, I think that you're incredible. I think that you've had a lot of growth. I think your story is amazing, and I'm sure there's so much more to your story than what we have for a podcast. But I know we support you, and I know that I hope that people that listen, like what I've said before, we are in a small town, so if you do see our guests on the show, I hope that you do approach them with understanding, even when they show their most vulnerable parts of themselves on the show, because we're not a national based podcast where people that listen are not around. People that listen are going to be people you're going to see out. And I hope that they see that growth in you, and I just hope nothing but the best for you in the future. I really do. Nothing but up from here. Yes. And happy birthday. And I hope you have a great
happy birthday,
day.
bro.
I appreciate it.
Thank you guys for tuning in to Fort Grit. We're loving it here. We're loving stories, and we'll see you guys next time.
Today's episode would not be possible without our sponsors. Today's sponsor is Stainless Innovations, Designs, and Fabric Custom. It's an equipment for front and back of house food service faculties across America. Headquartered here in Fort Smith, Arkansas. To get in contact with them, 479-783-1900. Stainless Innovations, thank you for sponsoring our podcast for today.